Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the August 9th joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have roll call for both bodies?
Councilmember Asadurian?
Here.
Brotman?
Here.
Devine?
Here.
Najarian?
Here.
Mayor Kasakian?
Here.
Authority Member Ajinian? Asadurian?
Asatrian?
Here.
Devine?
Here.
Kasakian?
Here.
Najarian?
Here.
Parazian? And Chair Brotman.
Here.
All right, thank you. May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 joint public meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority was posted on August 3rd, 2022 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right, well, we are now having our residents, citizens joining us in chambers. For anyone who wishes to want to attend our meetings, you are able to. But for those who wish to call in, you may call in at the number, I believe, I don't know if it's listed below, I can't see. There it is, up in the corner, listed above us. You will see the number to call in if you have any comments or questions. With that, I'll turn it over. Well, let's have the first item read into the record, what we're here for, and then I'll turn it over to staff.
One would be community development regarding acquisition of 426 Piedmont Avenue and 507 Narana Drive for the purpose of developing affordable housing, a resolution of appropriation in the amount of $12 million. B, Housing Authority resolution to authorize the executive director to execute a purchase and sale agreement with Burge Senior Services LLC. C, Housing Authority motion authorizing a streamlined RFQ process for developer section.
All right, thank you. City Manager Galanian.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian, members of City Council. We are excited to present to you a potential for the acquisition of another development site to house our senior, our most vulnerable members of our community as for affordable housing. And as you know, over the last couple of years, we have entered into purchase agreements for 3 properties that comprise of over 500 affordable units, thanks to Council's vision and direction. And I'm not going to steal staff's thunder. I'll invite Mike Fortney, our principal housing project manager, to go over the details of this acquisition and the next steps for your consideration. Mike.
Fortney.
All right. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian and City Council, Housing Authority Chair Brotman, and Housing Authority Board members. I'm Mike Fortney, Housing Project Manager for the city. And yeah, we're here to talk about 426 Piedmont. Is it advancing? Okay, oh yeah, we're at the end.
Is that it?
Sorry. Okay, good.
Are we good?
Yeah, this is it, great. So the property is 426 Piedmont Avenue. You could actually walk to it from here, it's not too far. The appraised price is $11.9 million, and that's the price that we've agreed to on the purchase sale agreement. Studying it, it looks to me like we can convert the 112-bed senior assisted living facility into 58 units, averaging about 425 square feet in the main building. There's 2 buildings that are actually connected, and 518 square feet in what they call the annex. If we could potentially squeeze 67 units if we were to shrink those units down with the average studio just under 300 square feet and 1 bedroom's at about 425 square feet. Those may not be doable. We'll have to take a really close look at it. A number of these units are gonna have to be ADA accessible. So you may not be able to get these units to work. But I'm pretty confident we can get to 58 units. I feel very good about that. So as far as our due diligence is concerned, we did a preliminary title report. There's a few things that the owner had to clear up, minor things, that's all been taken care of. We did a phase 1 environmental site assessment, came back clean, no recommendation for any additional environmental look. So we have drafted the purchase sale agreement, which was attached to the staff report. Again, $11.9 million purchase price, and we're shooting for a 30-day escrow. So we'll want to execute this if you approve it immediately, get it to finance and get working on that. And then just funding sources, the $12 million, 5.78 million would come from our low mod account, which basically wipes us out of our low mod account. Except for a small amount of money for administrative things. And then $6.22 million in Measure S. I should point out, there's an additional 100,000 here, right? We're requesting a full 12 million. I need the additional 100,000 just to maintain the property, hold the property, the escrow fees, things of that. Any dollar amount I don't spend will go back to the general fund, or to the Measure S fund. This is a site, or a shot of it. You can see Piedmont Park in front, and I believe this is the one that you could, if you scroll the cursor on. No, maybe it's the next slide. No, go back, please. Huh, it's not showing it. This is the one, I apologize to you, because I know our newest council member hasn't seen it yet, but we actually had GTV6 fly a drone so you could see it, and then took pictures of the inside. If you click on the link in the staff report, you would be able to see that. It should have been in my PowerPoint, and for some reason that feature is not working for us. This is just the parcel maps showing the site, and then the next one, next slide, there we go, would be our recommendations. So what we're recommending, number one, approve the purchase and sale agreement so that we can acquire the property and get to work on it. Another recommendation staff's making, and this would just increase the speed at which we could get to the March 9% tax credit round. We were suggesting we shortlist the RFQ to 4 developers, the 4 developers being the top 4 developers in the last RFQ where we did an adaptive reuse, which was Harrower Village, which we're celebrating the groundbreaking a week from today. Now staff, of course, we could issue an RFQ, just kick it out to the street and let any and all affordable housing developers respond to it. But we could get upwards of 18, 21 different developers that might respond. We've had that in the past. And it would just take staff that much longer to go through all those proposals versus 4 whom we've just vetted recently on an adaptive reuse project. So I think it would speed it up by maybe 2-3 months, but of course, that's completely up to you guys. We'll go with your direction. And that's really it for my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. I'll now turn it over to my colleagues for any questions they may have of staff. Who would like to go first? I'm looking. All right, Councilmember Brotman.
Simple question is, because you mentioned that we're going to zero out or virtually zero out our low moderate income housing asset fund, is it?
Yeah, it's not quite zeroed out, but it's dangerously low.
Okay. Yeah. Remind us, how do we fund that account?
Well, I'll tell you how we used to. Until 2012, that was our big account. That was our redevelopment dollars. But in 2012, statewide redevelopment went away. Okay. So 80%, maybe more, of all of our affordable housing revenue went away with it. So we've had a balance. We timed it really nicely. We issued tax allocation bonds against that stream in 2011. We used the last of that to acquire Pioneer. But we still do get revenue from that account. We have residual receipts from projects like this, right? So some dollars go into that account. Dollars go into that account when there's a first-time home buyer loan that gets paid, or some of our other rehab programs where those funds were funded by low mod in the first place. When those things happen, that goes back into that low mod fund. Unfortunately, and we've had a really good run because the interest rates were so low. That's not the case anymore. So I'm not expecting much revenue to go in a low mod fund over the next couple of years till the interest rates start to drop down.
Okay, so basically that means we don't have access to those kinds of funds if we want to do something like this again.
Yeah.
That leaves us with Measure S.
That leaves us with Measure S. We have so we have home dollars, right? So we've been putting 1.8 to 2 million in each of these projects. Once we're ready to do that, right, at the AHA, we're going to do that with Pioneer in a couple of months. So we have that roughly 1.2 million a year that we get. We have the commercial development impact fee that we get. That's the $4 per square foot on commercial projects over 1,250 square feet. So that revenue comes in. It was slow to come in, but it is starting to come in now. Remember, We did that and an in lieu fee when we adopted the IZO. So we have not collected a single dollar in inclusionary yet. But the reason is because, well, a lot of density bonus projects are stalled or are taking a long time. But one of the DIF fee and the IZO, the in lieu fee, one, they don't pay the fee until the building permit is issued. And then the other one isn't paid. That's the DIF. The other one, the in lieu, it's not paid until certificate of occupancy. So we have to wait. You know, we passed those ordinances. We have to wait for a project that didn't get wasn't exempt, right, because they'd already pulled permit, to go all the way through the entitlement process, all the way through the building plan check process. And then at building permit issuance, then we can collect the development impact fee. But we have to wait all the way through construction to then get the in lieu fee. And most projects opt to build the units versus really pay the in lieu fee. The only in lieu fees that we're really seeing are the old density bonus projects where they could build 11% at extremely low, or no, very low. And so they pay the delta to 4% instead of paying or building 15% at low. So we will get some money there. The other projects that are going to pay the in lieu are probably DSP projects because they don't need a density bonus. And at $55 a square foot, I think it pays to pay that fee. But so we haven't collected any of that yet.
Okay, so bottom line, that was a lot, but bottom line, we are not really going to see a significant balance in that account for several years.
No, we're not. And apologies if I answered way beyond what you meant. Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, Councilman Brotman, if I may add to what Mr. Fortney mentioned, this, if approved by council, this will be our fourth affordable housing project underway, and it's unprecedented. And quite frankly, we will not have the resources to manage an additional affordable housing project for a couple of years or so. That will provide an opportunity for building up that fund balance when the time comes that we identify other properties for affordable housing.
Yeah, I'm just to add, we are still going through the process with the other project from closed session, the site, and we're still going through that process. I can't really get into that, but I can certainly update you on that.
And if I could continue, you say we don't have the resources, you mean staff resources to handle these projects or financial?
Staff resources.
Okay, because, I mean, I like this project, and obviously we want to do, seems like a good opportunity to senior housing. I just want to make sure that, you know, we don't spend everything so that we can't do any family housing, because I think we want a balance, right? We want some family oriented housing, not solely senior housing. So that would be my only concern is, I mean, I like this project, but that would be my only concern is that we're kind of wiping out our opportunity to do anything that's family targeted for a couple of years, I guess.
If I may add to that, or we're doing 2 senior-only projects on Broadway. The massive project we're building, the 340 unit, well, we'll hopefully be building at the end of the year. That does have a senior component to it, but overwhelmingly it's small family and senior. You could qualify one or the other. So I don't want to say the numbers exactly, but I would say with this, we're probably at about 250, maybe about 200 family units, 200 senior units that will be in construction. So we're doing pretty good in terms of that balance.
Sure, okay.
Great. Councilmember Devine.
Yes, 2 questions. In the interest of transparency, because I know everybody's interested in transparency, they were asking more, and you negotiated and got a better price for the property.
Yes, the price that it looked like we were going with was 12.7 million. But in light of, if you recall, having to come back here and ask for 6 million on Pioneer, I thought it was appropriate to go back to the appraiser based on everything that's happened in terms of construction costs and interest rates. And he took a hard look at it and came up with the value of 11.9, which is 800,000 less than what we had anticipated.
Okay, so saved almost $1 million. Okay, my second question has to do with the streamlining of the RFQ. Now, I think one of the goals, one of your goals, is to be able to apply for the tax credits in March. Am I right?
That's correct. I want to deliver this product to you as quickly as I can.
Right, okay. Now, if we open it up, and let's say you get 20 responses, will you have enough time to make that deadline? Or would this streamlining make it easier or, more, kind of more apt to be successful in March?
Yeah, so I'll say this. If we did the full RFQ, I would do everything I can. I would do everything I could to still make the March deadline. But going with just this limited number of developers would absolutely make it easier, and it would make it a shorter turnaround. Because it does take a lot of staff hours to analyze upwards of 18 or even 21 different proposals. It's an RFQ versus an RFP, which in itself is easier, but it's still, it's a lot of work. And we talked in briefings that the entitlement process for this project, it looks like it's going to be pretty limited to just like a density bonus and obviously CEQA. But given all of that and the fact that we're trying to close on Pioneer and Pole's permit and go into construction also all at the end of the year, it would be, I couldn't guarantee.
A lot of balls in the air
Yeah,
right
I
now.
couldn't guarantee we'd make March if we go to the full route.
All right, thank you.
I do have one little follow-up.
Sure, go ahead,
Just on,
Councilmember Brotman.
just on this question of the short list. Meta housing. Why don't we have them on the short list?
They, so we looked at the top 4 on Harrower because it was an adaptive reuse project. It's also historic preservation, but it's the closest thing to this that we have, that we've done recently. So Meta's building a ground up new construction project. So we didn't put them on the list. But if there are developers that we've worked with or that you would like to add to that short list, we can do that.
And they did a really nice job with ACE 121, and we have them working on the Broadway project, right?
Yes, they have the Citrus project.
Seems like we would want to include them, but
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Brotman, if that's council's direction and desire, we can certainly invite them to submit an RFQ for this project as well.
that would be my suggestion. Thanks.
Comments? There aren't any. I would like to ask, would you like to make a comment, Councilman? I'm sorry?
The questions I had have already.
Okay, great, thank you. I do want to get some clarification. I know Mr. Mohel had submitted a card. Was it for this item or for the following? All right. Okay, all right. So my preference would be to open it up to more applicants for RFQs, and the purpose for which is I don't want there to be perception that Glendale, there's some exclusivity for the individuals. The projects we have done, they are of great quality. I have no issues with that. But we also have had a history in the city in the past, many councils ago, of certain housing developers that were not working with the city with the best interests of heart. The ADI issue is the one that comes to mind, and they did quite a few projects in the city. So out of an abundance of caution and given the market, I would like to see us, I know it's more work for you, Mr. Fortney, and your staff, but I have all the faith that your staff will be able to do it. That would be my preference, to just cast a wider net, see what is available out there, see what interesting, I mean, there's these proposals that you've made about increasing the number of units. I'll tell you, 296 square feet for studios seems a little cramped, but, you know, again, maybe after I see it, I'll be more apt to side with it. Every time I go to visit IKEA, I'm always amazed with how nice they make those model rooms look in such a tiny space. Maybe there is something creative that someone can do to help accommodate more residents that need a roof over their heads at a very affordable price. So that would be my preference, to cast a wider net and see who else we can get in terms of RFQs, but I'm not sure where my colleagues stand, and we'll see as we move forward. If there are no other questions or comments, I would like to, if we have no callers, I'll call up Mr. Mohill for 3 minutes of comments on this topic.
Can I actually add a couple of comments?
Sure, Councilmember Asatryan.
I think there's some potential for solar on the site for us to consider. And then as you guys are going through your RFP process, to also look at how you're doing the landscaping to include drought tolerant. I love what they have in front of the Central Library, where it's also an opportunity to educate the public on native plants. So something maybe educational that we can incorporate. And planting more trees on both Naranja and Piedmont.
All right, thank you.
And it does have a flat roof, so photovoltaic's not going to be, shouldn't be an issue.
Sure. Councilmember Broughton.
Just a quick one, because I wasn't sure, oh,
I thought
your job's not done.
I thought you were inviting the guests.
No. You're going to come back when we're looking at design and we can address some of these issues, right? Because there are things that I would want to suggest we look at, things that, all electric, like the solar. Also, I don't know if you all got it, but I got an email today from somebody
reuse.
saying,
Water
water,
reuse.
what do you call it? Gray water? Yeah, water reuse, gray water, things like that. There's another opportunity to get into that stuff, right?
Yeah, what I'll do is I will draft an RFQ and I'll bring it to you.
Okay.
And you can help me generate that RFQ, and we'll put in some of those provisions, as many as we can.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fortney. Stand by, don't go too far. Mr.
Right.
Mohill, you're up. 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, council members. It's been a long time since I've been here, since, I know, March of 2000, the pandemic. So, from fresh new faces, in fact. Welcome, Ms. Setrin and Brotman back again, okay? Okay, so the reason I brought thinking about this, this unit, I have a couple questions. What is the cost per unit will this project be? Number one. Number two, what is the cost per square foot? Number three, the word impact fees were brought up. Will these impact fees, since this is involving South Glendale, will those fees stay in South Glendale and not move north like they did when John Draymond was here to the barn up there? Council sent all that money up there and should have stayed in South Glendale. Actually, it was at the time Mayor Sinyanin who brought it up and said, hey, those fees should stay in South Glendale and not go north. Another point is, how much is, right now I understand that Measure S, 52% is being used for affordable housing. Was that the purpose of Measure S? 52%? Or was this going to be 30% or 10%? Because, Measure S is very important money. It could be used for senior program, children, fix our sidewalks, our roads. Why is 52%, council, is going of the Measure S money being used there? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if staff would like to respond to any of those comments, or if we even know what the cost of it would be at this point, but Mr. Fortney, if you want to.
Yeah,
All right.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, yes. As far as the cost per unit, as you indicated, we don't have those numbers until we get the bids from the selected developer. That's a few months down the road. And as far as Measure S is concerned, as you all know, was a quality of life measure. Affordable housing was very important to council and to our citizens and residents. And we have done over the years, the recent years, we're in the process of completing over 500 units, which will put us way ahead of our neighboring cities, and that was an important item that the council had directed staff to do. Amongst other things, this council has also appropriated funding for a large number of other quality of life issues with Measure S funding.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. I hope that covers some of the concerns that Mr. Mohill may have. Again, the cost of the project, we won't know until we know it. The cost of lumber alone has gone from at a high of about $1,800 per whatever the metric unit was for lumber to now, someone was telling me just the other day, it's dropped down to $400. So It could go up, it could go down. We'll know as we move forward. The one thing we do know is that there's an acute need for housing in the city. As far as impact fees, where they're going to remain in the city, I think the south portion of the city or anywhere below what we've considered the demarcation line of the freeway is in desperate need of affordable housing, as is most of the city, but especially in our densest parts of the city, which is why we have put an emphasis on affordable housing. And if we were to look at Measure S, and if anyone were to take the time to do a heat map of where the highest number of votes were for the passage of that measure, which I have, you will see that it passed overwhelmingly in the southern portions of the city where people expect to have the greatest relief for affordable housing, especially seniors who are on fixed incomes and do not have the ability to go out and get secondary employment or find other ways to make more income. So we're doing the best we can with what information we have and with the resources that we have, but we certainly take into consideration all the other needs of the city as well. Do any of my colleagues have any other comments, or would we like to move forward with some specific direction to staff? Mr. Brotman?
Well, I think we are entering a motion now to approve the acquisition, right? Is there anything else?
Councilmember Brotman, there's a motion for the appropriation as well to effectuate the transfer and the acquisition, excuse me, and then the item C is regarding the RFQ process. So I would suggest making items 1A and 1B together because that pertains to the acquisition. And then if you want to provide separate direction on the RFQ process, you can do that via item 1C.
So 1A is a council resolution, is it?
Correct, you're right.
Okay, so
1A
we'll
is
take resolution that, we'll take a resolution to appropriate the funds, that's the amount of $12 million. So would anyone like to make a motion on that resolution?
Okay, I'll move that's 1A.
council.
I'll move 1A for council.
Second that.
All right, may we have roll call for council?
Councilmember Asadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. Now for Housing Authority, and is this a portion where you need more specifics on the RFQ?
So Mr. Mayor, item 1B is the Housing Authority resolution to authorize the acquisition. So that's just the acquisition
I'll
for
move
the Housing
that
Authority.
item.
Okay, and then roll call, please, for Housing Authority.
Authority Member Ajinian, Asadrian,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian, and Chair Brotman.
Yes.
We have one more. This is the authorizing streamlined RFQ process, or
Correct.
the RFQ process that's casts a wider net, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any, I would make a motion to have a broader RFQ process.
I'll
to select
second
a
that.
developer,
So an open-ended process.
an open-ended process.
I'd like to second that.
Roll call?
Authority Member Ajinian, Asadrian,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian, and Chair Brotman.
Yes.
Let's, if there's no other, oh, yes, go
I
ahead.
have a question. I have
Yes,
a
please.
question for staff. Along with this email that we got about the water use reuse system, there was a question about Harrower House and that we're not using that system at that location. And is that included or not in that build?
I'm not familiar with the email.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Devine, if you would give us an opportunity to review and check the project site
Okay.
and the design, and we'll get back to council as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. With that, let's have motions to adjourn both bodies. Can we have one for council?
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Adjourn for housing?
Second?
Seconded by Member Devine. Thank you very much. We will now move on to the special meeting of the Glendale City Council, and we'll wait a moment until we switch over at GTV 6. There we are.